I'm Tony Simeone, so happy to have you with us, joined by a couple of heavy hitters here. I've got the national champion, Joshua Perry, and of course our college football insider, Nicole Auerbach. Impressive bench press that he put together.
Yeah, I mean, the skinny guys in the back end, not necessarily known for their ability to push weight around, but he's throwing up 225 like it's nothing here. 17 reps is a very impressive number for his position. That actually shows up on the tape. He's a guy who you know can set the edge. He plays with good physicality to his game, and we can talk about the pass game with him later, but he's not a guy that you want to throw at whatsoever.
I remember watching him as a freshman, Nicole, and as a sophomore. It's really a shame we didn't see the second half of his junior year, because I think he is, if not the best corner, was certainly one of the best corners in college football.
You know, Riley has continued to develop that part of his game more and more every week, let alone you know, from year to year. So we're just excited, I think, overall.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, we were looking a lot of the season for that number one receiver, right? And it looked like it was him for much of the year. Obviously, Jaden Greathouse had those moments at the end of the season, but Bo Collins was reliable for much of the year and was kind of that go-to guy when they did want to throw it.
Talk me into a guy who spent, you know, 4 or 5 or 6 years at a place like Notre Dame. Right, just from a maturity standpoint, just from an ability to learn standpoint, I think that's a big part of the evaluation when you start talking about a lot of these guys.
Those are Mitchell's numbers from this year, but when he was at FIU the year before, 2023, how about this? Over 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns. Again, maybe a different competition level than he was playing against regularly at Notre Dame. That's Jaden Harrison with a nice catch. He was really good on special teams this year. There's plenty of guys, I think, that are out here making their case, and for some of them it's just, hey.
Arm might be a little bit sore after this workout, but he has looked really good, and those deep balls are flying out of his hands. I mean, the spiral looks tight down the field. It's another difference there. Throwing the Duke, the NFL ball versus the college ball, it's a little trouble for some of these guys. You'll see wobbly passes because they can't get a good grip on it, but he looks like he's gripping it just fine.
What's the biggest difference in that ball from what you know? It's a slightly bigger ball, right?
It's a fatter ball.
Okay.
Around the middle. I think it was created to have a better spiral, but for guys, and this is why they do the quarterback hand measurement thing and everybody goes crazy over it on social media, some guys can't get a good grip on that ball because it is a fatter ball.
See Mitchell with the catch. You know, again, we've got tons of decision makers here behind the play. We saw Shane Steichen out there. Mike Tomlin was out there as well. There's the Colts head coach. He's been pretty engaged this entire time. Of course, they have a lot to figure out at quarterback.
Sure they do. But that would be a system to that point. Anthony Richardson, a guy who a lot of his value comes from his ability to run the football. If you're looking to create competition and stack up your quarterback room, is there an option to bring Riley in?
Well, and is that not a good option? Because, you know, they've shown that they want that, right? They want a quarterback who can move. Even if, you know, you've had injuries and accuracy questions, that speaks to, you know, just the philosophy of what they're looking for.
They're really pushing it down the field now. He was such a stalwart up front for them in the middle of that defense.
He was, and you know, we talked about Xavier Watts in the safety position and how that's not necessarily seen as a premium spot in the NFL right now. Defensive tackle is becoming a premium position. The NFL teams value a guy who can create pressure and generate sacks from the interior of the line of scrimmage. And when you flip on his game, as you see him going through these bags, a lot of power, a lot of twitch.
Probably matters because they know that all these guys watched their dads and they know what it takes to succeed at that next level. But when I think him, I also think of just motor. Like, he has the ability to keep going rep after rep. And that's a position that it's tough to keep that motor up for a 60-minute game, right?
Yeah, I mean, those big guys start leaning on you. You know, things get really hard in there. I agree with you with the motor. And again, it shows up by the pop off the line of scrimmage. He was a guy who first step, power off the line, you knew that he was trying to wreck the play that was happening in front of him. He moves really well side to side too, and that's great for a lot of teams in the NFL that like zone running schemes. He's athletic enough to defend from the interior on those. There is so much to like about his game. There's a reason why the guy was an All-American, right? Like, he is that good of a player, and an NFL team, whoever gets him is going to be really happy to have him around.
And you can see the potential that's there for a guy like R.J. Oben. I look at the build, it looks really impressive. There have to be scouts that are saying, hey, he had a year where the numbers weren't what we expected, but you don't need the numbers to necessarily translate to the next level.
This is the guy that you want coming first off the bus, right? You got big traps, he's chiseled, lean, big chest. He can scratch his knees standing straight up, right? Like this is going to sound crazy, but he's got a high butt, which is a good thing for a football player. Like he definitely is one of those guys that if you're evaluating, you like the build. It's never a bad thing to want to improve your draft stock, but I think they also knew what type of team they could be this year. And I think it's one of those moves to recommit yourself. And, NIL changes it where you can make a little bit of money in college. But I remember the day and age I was playing, and guys could not wait to make those 3 years so they could be out the door. And it takes a special guy to want to come back to school for another year. And that's what these guys wanted to do.
Okay, here's the DBs. And you can make a case this is one of the most talented groups on this roster. Xavier Watts, the career speaks for itself. Nagurski Award in 2023. When Marcus Freeman was here, I agree with him too. 2024, he was better. Yes. And you mentioned it, always in the right place. He's going to be, in my opinion, the perfect example of whatever data you take out of this. I'm not saying you should just throw it away, but you got to just look at the film. He is such an amazing player. Whoever gets him is going to have, I think, a multi-year NFL starter.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say that a guy shouldn't work out. Like, I think this is a good opportunity for everybody, but what is he going to prove out here? He was so good on tape. I'll tell you right now, there are 3 safeties to me in this class that I feel like I would want on my team. Malachi Starks from Georgia, really good player. Lathan Ransom from Ohio State, really good player. And then Xavier Watts is that guy. And again, taking the football away, anytime it was in the air, he felt like it was his.
I can't wait to see him at the next level because I just think he's going to perform no matter when he gets on the field.
How high do you think he could go, Joshua?
This is not a great question for me because I'm in love with the dude.
I know. We both like him too much.
But I
let it free.
think a second-round pick is not too expensive for him.
Sure.
There's probably only going to be one safety that would go in the first round of this draft. I think after that, if we're talking like the middle of the second round and I'm a team that's looking for a safety, I'm drafting him right away, and I'm not regretting it at all. And I would be very happy to make that phone call.
He's going to have an impact when he gets to the next level because he was just so solid. I can't think of really any time he was abused in coverage.
I'm curious about him and what the NFL people have to say and what the feedback is going to be. First off, and you've mentioned lineage a couple of times, I do think there's value in being the kid of a coach or being the kid of a pro because you understand the game differently, you know what the expectations are, you know how much is on your plate.
And there's his dad as well, who was here to take in Pro Day today. I'm sure he's very proud of what his son was able to do, obviously, in his entire Notre Dame career. But today, when we talked to Coach Freeman and the other coaches, it is just such a meaningful day. It's an uncomfortable day, and you heard him there. I think they all know they've peeled back every layer of the onion as they've gotten to know these guys. But I get the sense like today, and you went through it, Joshua, as I want to get each of you guys' final thoughts here on just this whole experience. It's a really special day because it means you've accomplished a lot in football, and there is more to accomplish, but it is kind of that inflection point. It's like your time here is done. You're going to go to the pros. You're always welcome back, but you're kind of sending these guys off, and it's always kind of cool for me to take it in here.
It's the last thing you get to do with your teammates too, right? And so there is that emotion, I'm sure, as these guys are all winding down and reflecting on what they did today. I say this every time I get to spend a little bit of time around this program specifically, but these guys are impressive. They're just impressive people, and I think that matters when it comes to evaluating NFL prospects. They're going to do well in the interviews. People are going to fall in love with them, but they're going to be mature enough and ready enough to step into the NFL and make an impact, and I can't wait to follow the careers of these players.
Yeah, me too. I think that this was a really interesting day because we wanted to learn about Riley Leonard. The deep ball looked good. It looked like it was effortless. We saw his athleticism. We saw how much fun he was having out there. So I'm really hopeful that this is the final thing that pushes someone over the line to take him and give him that opportunity and bring him into your locker room. So I think all the boxes were checked today, right? Everybody looked good. Everyone did the things that they were trying to prove that they can do.
And the schedule they have, I compare it just to last year. The schedule last year didn't seem as daunting as this one does, especially at the beginning, guys. I want to get both your thoughts. I mean, going to Miami, you do get the bye to rest up, but that's going to be just such a tough place to play. And then we saw how tough Texas A&M was last year. That is a heck of a way to start the year. Boise State was in the playoff. There's just so much. What sticks out to you, Joshua, when you look at what they have coming down the line?
No, it's certainly the start of the season. I mean, there's no ramp-up period. There's no we're going to feel ourselves out. As you mentioned, go on the road for your first game, which they did last year, so they've got some experience with that. It's a tough one. A&M's going to be good. Arkansas is one of those situations where you know they're talented. How well are they going to play on the field? We know Boise State is one of those teams that you can't take very lightly.
I mean, today we get to turn the page. See you later, guys. Have fun in the NFL. Now it's time to look look at 2025. College football season cannot come here fast enough, and that's going to do it for us here